Hello, it's the Curious Low back with another video, and today we are going to be discussing Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 8, No One. As always, we will be going through the least important or least featured plot lines of the episode. So to start us off, we have everything going on in Marine, and I say everything, I think there were two sequences that happened there, or three. There were three sequences. So we had Varys leaving, we had the joke telling, and then we had Dany's triumphant return. Three great scenes, nothing wrong with them by any means. This is going to mean a lot more for upcoming episodes than it did for this one. I loved the stuff with Grey Worm and Miss Indy, like trying to tell jokes for the first time and thinking they were so funny, and Tyrion just being like, okay guys, you're cool. That was a cute little scene, and Varys going off to do his little things like he does. He's always got a plan. And of course, the attacking via Slaver's Bay, and the Masters are coming, and it's all a big deal, but Dany returns, assumingly with dragons in tow, because how the heck else would she have gotten up into the pyramid without a dragon? Basically what I'm trying to say is this was a cool plot line, but not super indicative of what was happening in this actual episode. So let's go ahead and move on to everything happening with the Hound. Another plot line that I feel like was important in the grand scheme of things, but it wasn't the main focus of this episode. We saw him in two different scenes. We saw him first just taking out some people by fire. I mean, like, dang. A little bit graphic, but I mean, that's what Game of Thrones is. We've had some nudity lately, and we've been sort of lacking in the graphic violence, so they had to bring it back in just to keep up with their name. So we had that, and then we had him catching up with the Brotherhood Without Banners and getting to punish the three people who sort of killed all of his friends back at his hippie compound. It was cool to see him not just be like, screw you, I'm gonna kill all of you and these three men because I want to. Like, he's growing up a little bit. This runs right into everything that's happening up at King's Landing, so I'll go ahead and move on to that. Most importantly, trial by combat has been outlawed, and I haven't really talked about it on here, but Clegane Bowl has been a thing that people have been freaking out about and like really, really waiting for. I've never been super interested in the Hound and the Mountain. I mean, like, they're cool characters, but I've always not quite understood why everybody gets so obsessed with them. That being said, it would be super cool to see them fight. I still think that will happen, regardless of the fact that there will no longer be a trial by combat involving the Mountain and potentially the Hound. But I don't think that I would have liked the Hound to be representing the Faith Militant anyway. I don't think that fits with his character, unless he was literally just doing it because he hated his brother and wanted to fight him that way. But I think that there's a better way to have a fight between the two of them. The Mountain is still around. He is still like Zombie Mountain, and we'll see what happens with him. But other than that, Cersei's big mouth always gets her in trouble, and I really feel like she needs to calm down sometimes because she is smarter than this. And I know just a few episodes ago I was like, oh, Cersei's not doing anything. This isn't like Cersei. She needs to be active, and now she's being active, and I'm like, stop it. But I love all the stuff that she's doing to try and help Marjorie and like stuff like that, being like sneaky and behind the scenes, and I love all of that about her character. But just her like poking the bear seems really stupid. The Faith Militant have already shown that they are powerful even without like brute force. Like, that's not where their power comes into play. Obviously they are somewhat trained in combat. They all have those like weird weapons that they're always carrying around, but you can't just brute force your way through this problem. And I think that Cersei is so used to just having so much power that she can do whatever she wants and there are no consequences, that it's starting to kind of come back on her, and she needs to kind of take a beat and be like, okay, I was hoping this is what her like walk of shame would have sort of done to her, and just been like, all right, I can't just brute force my way through this. I have to be cunning. I have to be more like what Marjorie was doing in the last episode and kind of play their game in order to win. As always, I always say this, we'll see where this goes. It doesn't look like we'll really get a ton from them next week. But obviously time will tell. So next we have everything going on at River Run. I've been talking about this for weeks, and there was not a ton that happened here. I was expecting more of a battle as opposed to sort of like stern talking tos, but still really cool. We got the Brienne and Jaime reunion. It was perfect, honestly. I think that I was a little worried that they would go some sort of weird romantic route, because while some people love that, I'm not huge into them as a romantic pairing. I just don't think it works for either of their characters. However, I love them as friends, and I think it works perfectly for them to have this sort of mutual respect of each other. And the fact that Jaime lets her keep the sword, and the fact that he respects everything that's happening with Brienne, keeping her promise and protecting Sansa until the day she dies, is just wonderful. Great writing. Jaime Lannister is another character that I just love, and I kind of mentioned last week that I sort of hate him when he's with Cersei, but I love him when he's apart from her. I kind of feel the same way about Cersei too. I just like, ugh, I hate that whole thing. But Jaime was great this episode, and I sort of hate him when he's with Cersei, so it was great to have a whole episode where he was just kind of like not really worrying about her. I mean, he did like mention her, but whatever. The entire scene with Edmure was great. I love the fact that he was cunning enough to send somebody in that would, in my opinion, do the smart thing. I think that it was the smart thing to let them go, defend their homeland, and still have that castle for the Lannisters. 2 more things, and then I promise I will stop gushing about River Run. It was just simultaneously everything I wanted and everything I didn't want because there wasn't a battle. So I feel like I have a lot to say about it, but I don't want to just go on and on. First thing, I think the Blackfish took the coward's way out, the least honorable way out, not the honorable thing to do, which is what he thinks he did. He just took away so much experience in both war and just as being a leader from Sansa. I cannot believe he did that. I'm really proud that Edmure, even after all that, I'm assuming vague torture, if not outright torture, and just being imprisoned for years, he still was loyal enough to be like, you know what? I'm going to cut my losses here, go help recapture the North, and then we can kind of trickle our way back down and recapture some other lands, because holding out as this one little stronghold, being under siege for possibly years, is dumb. So basically, I just think he was super stupid, but I loved the reunion between Brom and Podrick. I love them both. I love their relationship a lot, and I'm really happy that they had their little moment, because they could have easily just glossed over that. But they're 2 characters that, in the grand scheme of things, don't seem to be big players. They're more just kind of along for the ride, so I don't have much to say about them, other than I like them both. It was cute to kind of see him sort of teaching Podrick how to fight, so yeah, I really liked that. Last little bit that I want to talk about is everything going on with Aria, and we are at the end of this recap. So obviously this is what I think is sort of the most important thing, the most interesting thing that happens this episode. She wasn't being impersonated by somebody. She wasn't trying to trick the waif. She literally just got snuck up on, which I'm a little disappointed in, not gonna lie. And I feel like I'm almost not disappointed in Aria so much as that I'm disappointed in the writers, because it would have been a lot easier to at least just have her not be so like, look at all this money I have, I'm going on a ship, we're going to Westeros, and then like get stabbed. Like, of course, if you were just shouting it through the street, like, I would have rather her be a lot more like, I'm being very like calculative, and I still got snuck up on, because then at least she's not being dumb. But whatever, that was all last week. I am happy that she seemed to kind of be more of herself. She went to ground that she sort of knew. Obviously, she couldn't go back to Jaqen because he's presumably the person that set out the hit on her. So she goes back to this actress who lovingly sort of nurses her back to health. I'm a little sad that that character was just so kind of unceremoniously taken out, but this is Game of Thrones. What did I expect? Huge race through the street, and I just had my appendix out like 2 months ago. Girl, Aria is made of way stronger stuff than me. I could not sit up after having my appendix out. And personally, I think that that probably was a little bit easier for me than it would be for her, because mine was like a surgical scar that was like meant to be there and like perfectly dressed and cleaned, not by some random actress who sort of knows what she's doing. Regardless of that, this is a fantasy world, so I guess I can't place too much like stock in the like scientific medicine that is going on in this world. But I still think that she was just like killing it until she fell down those stairs. Got her sword. We're ready for like this, yes, Arya's finally gonna beat the waif up, and she like slices out the candle, which was so cool, and then nothing. Little disappointed that we didn't at least get to like, I understand it's dark, at least get to like hear a little bit of the tussle, maybe hear like a stabbing noise and like, oh no, like who was it? Like, which one? It was just like, and then nothing. And then next thing we know, there's like the blood and like the face on the wall, which was cool. I like that that's the way that it was discovered. And I like that Jaqen was like, a girl has become no one. And she's like, no, a girl is Arya Stark of Winterfell, and I'm going home. Beautiful. really, really proud of Aria. Even if she was a little bit dumb in the last episode, I think that this arc has really shown her growing up, and she's not somebody who is running away anymore, much like sort of what's been happening with Sansa kind of last season and this season, with sort of like just running away because that's all they could do. I mean, you can't blame them for like just this collapse of their family. They had to run. They had to try and escape as quickly as they could. And then to sort of see them regroup on their separate corners of the world and start to be like, okay, I'm getting my ish back together and we are going to try and go home and take our lands back. And these are completely separate of each other. Like, they don't know that the other one is alive. Well, Sansa has some vague notions that Arya is alive. And I guess Arya probably thinks that Sansa is alive too, because there haven't been any like, oh, she's dead. But I mean, she escaped from her marriage. So, you know, basically what I'm saying is these two have not communicated and they're both kind of on the same path. And like I've said, more Starks on a collision course. Because let's see here. We have Rickon already in Winterfell. We have Bran who's on his way south to sort of help or whatever was said to him like 2 weeks ago. But I still think that that will cause him to at least come to Castle Black, if not Winterfell. Obviously, Sansa and Jon Snow on their way to Winterfell. Like, Arya on her way to Winterfell. It's beautiful. I love it. And I would really, really like it if Theon eventually makes it there, even though he's sort of been a butt of a ward / person they were raised with, so he's kind of like a brother. I would like to see them at least get some sort of closure, since he obviously has turned a corner and is starting to do things for good and help Sansa escape and things like that. But that's neither here nor there. Basically what I'm saying is this was a mixed bag as far as Game of Thrones episodes go. I thought it was great, but it wasn't the best episode ever. Next week looks like it's going to be a little bit chaotic. I'm hoping, I hesitate to hope that the Starks will win. Not because I don't want the Starks to win, but because I feel like if the Starks win, they're, just by the laws of this world, will be a price paid. In the world of Game of Thrones, in the world of these books, you can't win a victory like that without losing someone. And that scares me because everybody that is going to this battle right now on the side of the Starks is people that I love and cherish and do not want to die. And I would just be so upset if we lose another Stark. But even beyond that, like, there are some other characters that I really love that I don't, like Brienne. It's a stressful thing. We're coming to the end of the season. We only have 2 episodes left this season. And then it sounds like next season is the final season. So we are really coming to the end of this season, but also just the end of the show. So things are really going to start ramping up from here, both next week and the week after that, and then next year. Ugh, I'm a little freaked out. Let me know what you guys thought below. Are you guys excited for the battle next week? I'm excited. I'm just like tentatively excited. What did you think of this episode? Go ahead and let me know down in the comments. Now I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.